everybody? JT Dangerous here once again. I am back for my Week 1 college football predictions. Yes, we are back once again for another year of college football predictions. After a very successful freshman year last year, we're coming into our sophomore year of college football predictions with a lot of confidence. We're looking to have even better success than we did in our first year, and we're going to look to have an even better season this year. So I'm so excited to do college football predictions for you guys once again. Like always, I'll be doing it from week 1 to week 14, and I'll also be doing college football bowl picks and all the way up to the college football playoffs. So hope you guys are going to be along for the ride, and I hope you guys do enjoy the video. Now, if you have not watched my all-in predictions yet, definitely go check that out. This is the second video of the day. So hopefully you guys will show your love on both these videos. As always, show your love by watching the video, super kicking that like button, and voicing your opinions and your picks in the comment sections down below. Now, if this is your first time watching my channel as a first-time viewer, and this is your first video, boy, you picked a good one to start off with if you're a huge college football fan like myself and you're ready for another season of college football predictions. Welcome to the Dangerous Lions. I am JT Dangerously. Welcome to the club, because this club is just to... Whoop, whoop. Again, thank you guys so very much. Now, other than that, let's get right into these Week 1 college football predictions. Starting off with the first matchup. It is between the Oregon State Beavers heading to Columbus to face the reigning Big Ten champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, Oregon State's coming in after a 1-11 season last year, and I think this year is going to be another rebuild season. They aren't really a threat in the Pac-12 North, with teams like Oregon, Stanford, Washington State, and Cal. So really this season's going to be another really rough season for the Beavers. Then on the other side, you have the Ohio State Buckeyes, who are coming in after a very great year last year. They went 12-2. They won the Big Ten championship, but they did not make the Final Four, which a lot of people thought they were snubbed out of it, even though Bama didn't win the SEC. But Ohio State's coming into this season amid a lot of controversy because of what happened with the Urban Meyer situation. I think it was something domestic. So they put Urban Meyer on an administrative leave of absence. So he's not going to be on the sidelines for Ohio State, maybe the whole season. So this Ohio State team could be vulnerable to teams like Michigan, teams like Wisconsin, teams like Michigan State, Penn State. So this can be definitely a very vulnerable point for the Ohio State Buckeyes if they don't have Urban Meyer on the sideline. So coming from me in this first matchup, I don't think this one's going to be close, honestly. So I'm going to take the Ohio State Buckeyes to defeat the Oregon State Beavers. OHIO. And now the next matchup. It is between the Texas Longhorns heading to Maryland to face the Maryland Terrapins. Now, Texas is coming off a very solid 7-6 season last year, and they're looking to come into this season to be a legit threat in the Big 12 Conference. When you got teams like Iowa State, TCU, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Kansas State, Texas wants to be relevant in that conference again, because they haven't been really relevant in that conference in a long time. So Texas is looking to come into this year with they're going to come in with some confidence, and they're looking to prove that last year was not a fluke. Then on the other side, you have the Maryland Terrapins coming in after last year's 4-8 season, and they're looking to maybe be the wild card in the Big Ten East Division, but it's not going to be easy with teams like Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, and Rutgers. So coming from me in this matchup, even though I'm not a big fan of this team, even because there are rivals in the Big 12 Conference, I'm going to go with the Texas Longhorns to defeat the Maryland Terrapins. And now the next matchup. It is between the Running Rebels of Ole Miss heading to Lubbock, Texas to face the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Now, Ole Miss is coming off a 6-6 season. They were bowl eligible last year, but this year they want to be a legit threat in the SEC West with teams like Bama, Auburn, LSU, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Mississippi State. There's a lot of that SEC West is going to be so deep this year. So Ole Miss wants to be more than a bowl eligible team. They want to be a contender in that division. The only other side, you have the Texas Tech Red Raiders coming in after a 6-7 season last year. They did make the bowl. They did make a bowl this last year, but they're looking to also make a legit threat to the Big 12 Conference with teams like TCU, West Virginia, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Iowa State. They're looking to be a legit threat in their conference as well. So coming from me in this matchup, I'm going to go with the Running Rebels of Ole Miss to defeat the Texas Tech Red Raiders. And now the next matchup, and this one's going to be a really good one, between the Florida Atlantic Owls heading to Norman to face the reigning Big 12 champions, my Oklahoma Sooners. Now, the Owls are coming off their best year. They're coming off winning the Conference USA Championship. They're coming off an 11-3 season last year, and Lane Kiffin had easily his best year coaching at Florida Atlantic, and Florida Atlantic definitely rewarded him with a 10-year contract. So if you're thinking he's going to stay there for 10 years, you got another thing coming, folks, because with a lot of openings elsewhere in the college football scene, Lane Kiffin's going to be one of those guys, one of those coaches that teams are going to be looking for. So I can see his 10-year contract not even making it to 10 years. But Florida Atlantic was maybe the biggest surprise when it comes to the Florida teams, other than Miami and Central Florida. But Florida Atlantic is looking to they're looking to defend their Conference USA Championship, and they're looking to have another stellar year. The only other side, you have my Oklahoma Sooners coming off a 12-2 season last year. They made it all the way to the college football playoff semifinals before losing to Georgia, and they're also the reigning Big 12 champions. Now, this Oklahoma team is going to be very different. There's no Baker Mayfield, being he's at Cleveland, and hopefully he will be starting very soon. But with Lincoln Riley in his second year full-time coaching the Sooners, I'm very confident that he's going to have another good year. Hell, a lot of people didn't expect Lincoln Riley to have a good first year. He had an amazing first year. His second year, I'm really hopeful he's gonna have a much better second year full-time than he did for his first year last year. So coming from me in this really, really interesting matchup, this one's going to be interesting. Lincoln Riley versus Lane Kiffin. This is going to be a good one. This can easily be a shootout when it comes to Big 12 matches. They're usually a shootout. And hopefully the Big 12 will be not known as a lot of offense, no defense. So coming from me, you already know I'm going to take my Oklahoma Sooners to defeat a very good Florida Atlantic Owls team. Boomer Sooner! And now the next matchup, and this one could be definitely a doozy, between the Washington Huskies facing the Auburn Tigers. Now this game will be played in Atlanta, Georgia, so this is a very neutral game. It's not going to be at Auburn. It's going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. So this is practically an Auburn home game if you think about it. Now the Huskies are coming off a 10-3 season last year. It was a great year for the Huskies, and they're coming in being maybe the perennial favorites to win the Pac-12 title this year. I mean, when you have Chris Peterson, the former and one of my favorite coaches at one of my other favorite college football teams, the Boise State Broncos, Washington has definitely stepped up ever since they got him. They have won consistently after consistently, and that's what Chris Peterson does. He consistently gets teams wins every season, even doubles them from last season. But Washington is definitely my favorite to win the Pac-12 this year. Then on the other side, you have the Auburn Tigers, who are coming in 10-4. They were definitely a spoiler team last year that got big time wins. And when you're in the SEC West with Bama, with LSU, with A&M, with Arkansas, with Mississippi State, Auburn is definitely going to have a much better year this year, and they can definitely win that conference for sure. So coming from me in this matchup, and this one's going to be a doozy, I'm going to go with the Washington Huskies to defeat the Auburn Tigers. And now the next matchup. It is between the Tennessee Volunteers heading to Morgantown to face the West Virginia Mountaineers. Now, the Volunteers are coming off a very bad year. They went 4-8 last year, and Rocky Top definitely hit rock bottom for the Volunteers, and they're looking to come into this season to finally have an identity, because last year they just did not have this. They almost lost their soul in last year's season. And when you got teams like Florida getting better, Georgia getting even better, Kentucky getting a lot better, Missouri, Tennessee has to step up their game if they want to be a legitimate threat again in the SEC. I mean, they haven't been really a threat since Peyton Manning was playing there. So Tennessee is definitely looking to have a much better year this year. Then on the other side of the West Virginia Mountaineers, coming off a very solid 7-6 season last year, but they want to be more than a 7-6 team. They want to be a threat in the Big 12. They want to be the teams like TCU, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Texas. They want to be a top contender in that division. I really think they can be a top contender this year. So coming from me in this matchup, I'm going to go with the West Virginia Mountaineers to defeat the Tennessee Volunteers. And now the next matchup, it is between the North Carolina Tar Heels heading to California to face the Cal Bears. Now, North Carolina's coming off a 3-9 season last year, and they were definitely just being overshadowed in that ACC division when you have Miami, Duke, and a lot of other teams. But UNC is looking to get back on track and definitely have a better season. Then on the other side, you have the Cal Bears who are coming in after last year's 5-7 record. They're looking to be a threat once again in the Pac-12 North with teams like Oregon, Oregon State, Stanford, Washington State. But Cal's going to have a very tough year this year coming from me. So coming from me in this matchup, I'm going to take the Cal Bears to defeat the North Carolina Tar Heels. And now the next matchup, and this is a big rivalry battle, and College Game Day will be there live this Saturday morning. It is between the Michigan Wolverines heading to South Bend to face the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Now, this is the 43rd meeting between Michigan and Notre Dame. Michigan leads the all-time series 24-17-1. Now, their last meeting between these two was all the way back 4 years ago in 2014 where Notre Dame won. And Michigan's last win over Notre Dame happened in 2013. So one of these teams is going to get their first win against each other in a long time. Now, starting off with Michigan, they're coming off a very solid season last year. They're coming off an 8-5 year, but this year it's a little bit more important because I think Jim Harbaugh is on the hot seat in Michigan because since he's been there, he has not beaten Ohio State. Hell, it's been a while since Michigan's beaten Ohio State, since like the Bo Schembechler, Rich Rodriguez era. It's been that long for Michigan fans to beat Ohio State. And if you want to win the Big Ten Conference, you got to beat teams like Ohio State, like Penn State, like Sparty, their rivals, Michigan State. But Michigan is definitely fighting for their coach's job because if Harbaugh does not win the Big Ten and maybe finally beat Ohio State, Jim Harbaugh is going to be done in Ann Arbor. Then on the other side, you have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish coming off easily their best year. They went 10-3 last year, and they're looking to see if they're looking to now become a legit threat to the college football playoff. Last year, they did stumble against Miami, but they got 10 wins, and I know they were in one of the New Year's Six games. So they're looking to show that last year's season was not a fluke. So coming from me in this matchup, this one's going to be tricky because I know Lee Corso is going to be definitely doing headgear for this. I'm going to go with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to defeat the Michigan Wolverines. And now the next matchup, it is between the Louisville Cardinals heading to Tuscaloosa to face the reigning college football playoff national champions, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, the Louisville Cardinals are coming off a very solid season last year in the ACC. They went 8-5, and that was Lamar Jackson's last year at Louisville before he went to the Baltimore Ravens. But this year's Louisville Cardinals I really think is going to have a very rough year because when you got some great teams in the ACC Atlantic like Clemson, like Florida State, like NC State, it's going to be a tough road for the Cardinals to even win the ACC or even be relevant in the top 25 or the college football playoff. And this matchup does not favor the Cardinals at all. Then you have the Alabama Crimson Tide coming off another national championship. Tricky Nick Saban did it again with with this time with a backup quarterback, which was surprising as hell. But I should not be surprised. Bama, when Nick Saban coaches them, it's hard to beat them. They're like the Golden State Warriors of college football, or they're the Chicago Bulls of basketball, because every time you think you got them beat, they find a way to win, and they find a way to win another championship. But this year in the SEC is going to be a lot more different. I still think Alabama's going to win the SEC. But I think Georgia is a top contender in the SEC. I think Auburn is another top contender. And I can see Bama maybe losing 2 games this season, honestly, and still make it to the college football playoff. So coming from me in this matchup, oh man. I'm going to go with the Alabama Crimson Tide to defeat the Louisville Cardinals. Roll Tide! And now the final matchup in Week 1, pitting the BYU Cougars heading to Arizona to face the Arizona Wildcats. Now the BYU Cougars are coming off a 4-9 season last year. It was not their best year, and they're looking to make this year a little bit better than a 4-9 record last year. Then on the other side, you have the Arizona Wildcats, who are coming off a 7-6 record last year. They made it to a bowl game this year, but they want to be relevant in the Pac-12 South. When you got teams like USC, who are maybe the favorites to win the South, Arizona State with new coach Herm Edwards, UCLA with new coach Brian Kelly, Utah, Colorado. Arizona is definitely looking to get back in that position of being a top contender in the Pac-12 conference. So coming from me in this final matchup of Week 1, I'm going to take the Arizona Wildcats to defeat the BYU Cougars. And those are my Week 1 college football predictions. Now, I want to thank you guys so very much for watching this video today. Comment below, who do you have winning in Week 1 this week? Who do you have? Who do you got win? Who do you see an upset coming up? And let me know who you represent in college football. Represent your team in the comment section below, as always. Let's have a conversation about it. Of course, I am always on to see your comment, like it, and of course reply right back to you, because comments are absolutely always welcome on this channel. Now, I do want to thank you guys so very much for watching this video and all of the videos in the month of August. Again, thank you guys so very much for a fantastic month of August on the channel. Now we're going into the month of September, and you already know there's going to be videos every week when it comes to NFL predictions, college football predictions, New Japan predictions, Ring of Honor predictions. So definitely don't forget to hit that notification bell, and hopefully you guys will be along for the ride. So before you guys go, as always, you can never forget to do this. That like button, comment, share with your friends. Of course, super kick that like button like only you guys can. Of course, you can never forget to do this as well. That subscribe button, become part of this bigger and dangerous alliance. And I will see you guys on the first week of September for my Week 1 NFL predictions and my Week 2 college football predictions, and even more videos. Later days, guys, and peace.